What is up, guys, and welcome back to part 10 of the Toyota Tacoma LS Swap build series. What I want to get done today is I want to get our clutch pedal assembly installed along with our clutch master cylinder, and then after that I want to get our shifter assembly installed into our CDO9 transmission. We're going to have to cut a hole in our transmission tunnel to do that, and we're also going to have to cut holes through the firewall to make way for our clutch pedal assembly. So let's get after it. Alright, so all I did was I went ahead and I found a used clutch pedal assembly from a Toyota Tacoma around the same year. I think that was going to be our best option because where this thing sits is it kind of sits back in, and the clutch pedal kind of comes over and down, and I think it was just a lot easier to get a clutch pedal assembly that was kind of made for this truck, and then all we really have to do is cut the holes in the firewall for the studs to go through and for the master cylinder to also go through. And then I went ahead and I got a clutch master cylinder. I think it was really cheap. I think it was like 20-30 bucks on Rock Auto. I do not know for sure if this clutch master cylinder, how it's going to work with the slave cylinder that we have, the T56 slave cylinder. I may have to go with a different master cylinder. I really don't know, but I'm never going to know unless I kind of start somewhere. And so we're going to go ahead and get that installed. And once we get the truck running, we'll see how that performs, and then we'll kind of make adjustments from there. And then the other thing is I want to get our CDO9 shifter assembly installed, and what we're going to do is we're going to this shifter also acts as a relocation kit. So this kind of relocates the shifter so that it's not quite as far back. These transmissions, when they come in the 350Zs, they have a bracket that kind of comes back, and it would have ended up, the shifter would have been like way back here, which would have been way too far back. So this shifter assembly kind of brings it up further, and so it ends up being, it's going to be right about here where I put this mark, which I kind of put the seat in, and that seems to be a pretty good location for it. So we're going to have to go ahead and cut a hole there to access it, get that installed on the transmission, and then we should be good to go there. So let's go ahead and get this stuff installed. Alright, shifter is installed, and that was actually surprisingly really easy. Once I cut the hole in the floor, my bracket bolted right up. I put my roll pin through, kind of adjusted it to the center of my hole, because this actually there's actually 3 different adjustment points to move that block forward or back, which is kind of nice. And so everything seems to work. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and reverse. So let's go ahead and get the holes drilled through the firewall and get our clutch pedal installed. Alright, so now that we have our clutch pedal assembly and clutch master cylinder installed, what I want to go ahead and do now is build a bracket to hold our throttle cable. This is the stock Toyota throttle cable from the truck, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to reuse this because that would obviously be the easiest thing to do because we already have it attached to our throttle pedal. I just wasn't sure if it was going to be too long or what have you, because when you run into a cable that's too long, you kind of have to kind of twirl it around and take up the slack. But it's kind of like the perfect length. I mean, it could be a couple inches shorter, but I already kind of have it routed. It's attached to the throttle body, and I have like a hold down, holding it down to the intake here. So all I have to do is build a bracket to hold it. That way we can adjust the cable, and we should be good to go. Alright, so now that we got our throttle cable figured out, the next thing on the list is going to be our remote oil filter. We're going to go ahead and mount the housing on the frame and run our lines over to our oil pan. So I think the best place to mount it is going to be on the cross member. That way I can I'll cut an opening on the other side of it, and then I'll be able to put three, because this has like 3 holes here. So what I'll do is I'll put 3 bolts through this direction, and then I'll tack them into place on the inside of the cross member. So then I can just slip this on, put the nuts on, tighten it up, screw on my filter, put my adapters on the top, run my hoses over from my oil pan, and we're good to go. All right, got our oil filter housing mounted. Now we just need to get our hoses cut to length, and that way we can install our fittings, and then we're done. All right, so the remote oil filter housing is installed, lines are installed, and it's ready to rock. The only thing, I'm definitely gonna have to do some creative exhaust routing here, and I'll probably heat wrap the pipe as well as these lines. This stuff stands up to heat pretty well, but just to be safe, I'll probably heat wrap the pipe and the lines. But other than that, we should be good to go here. All right, guys, so that's gonna be it for today. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.